Life often tests us in unexpected ways. This is the story of David, a man burdened by the world's judgment, yet driven by a quiet, unshakable love. His journey will touch your heart and remind you of the power of selfless devotion. It was past midnight when Mr. Thomas suddenly fell ill. His breathing grew heavy, and beads of sweat covered his face. David, his youngest son, heard the commotion and rushed into the room. Despite always being treated as the useless one, he didn't hesitate for a second. Mr. Thomas's wife suggested calling the driver, but David knew it would take too long. He gently lifted his frail father onto his back, his heart pounding, and placed him in the car. As David drove through the silent streets, he could hear his father's weak voice scolding him. "Slow down, you fool. You can't even drive properly." The words stung, but David clenched his jaw and kept driving. "Don't talk, father. Save your strength. We're almost there," he said, his voice steady despite the tears welling in his eyes. At the hospital, David handed his father over to the doctors and sat down outside the emergency room. He buried his face in his hands, memories flooding back. All his life, he had been called useless. At school, teachers mocked him for failing exams. At home, relatives laughed at him, saying, even a clerk wouldn't hire him. After marriage, the taunts grew crueler. People whispered, "Poor Sarah, stuck with his good-for-nothing man." But through all the ridicule, there was one person who had always believed in him, his mother. She never called him useless. She saw the kindness in his heart and the strength in his spirit, even when the world refused to. Inside the small hospital chapel, David knelt and prayed with all his heart. "Please, God," he whispered, his voice trembling, "don't take my father away. He doesn't believe in me, but I'll prove him wrong. Just give me a chance." Morning came, and the doctors assured him that his father's condition was stable. Mr. Thomas could go home. David felt a wave of relief wash over him as he drove his father back. At home, David carefully helped his father into his room. As he was about to leave, Mr. Thomas muttered, "I bet you thought the old man wouldn't make it back. Didn't you, useless?" David froze. The words hit harder than they should have, given all he'd done. He walked outside silently, his heart heavy. Sarah, who had been watching, couldn't stay silent anymore. She turned to her husband, her voice trembling with emotion. "Enough, Thomas. Do you know what your useless son has done for you?" While the rest of the house slept peacefully, it was David who carried you to the hospital. He didn't want to disturb anyone, not even me, and yet you scold him. Why? Do you think your other sons, the ones you call capable, would have done the same? They barely care about anyone but themselves. When was the last time they asked how you were feeling? Mr. Thomas looked up at her, startled by her outburst. For a moment he said nothing. Then, with a heavy sigh, he whispered, "You think I don't care? My heart breaks every time I call him useless, but I can't help it. I'm afraid that if I praise him, he'll stop trying. I don't want him to end up like the others. I want him to be strong and to know the value of hard work. Maybe I'm wrong, but everything I do is because I love him." Unbeknownst to them, David stood by the door, tears streaming down his face. He had never heard his father speak this way before. The man who had always seemed so cold, so distant, was carrying a burden of his own. David wanted to run in and embrace his father, to tell him he understood, but instead, he quietly walked away, his chest heaving with silent sobs. As he reached his room, he heard his father call out, "David, where are the medicines? Did you leave them in the car, you fool? You can't even handle one simple task properly." David wiped his tears and smiled faintly. "Coming." "Father," he said. He ran to fetch the medicines, his heart lighter than it had ever been. In that moment, he realized that behind every harsh word, behind every scolding, was a love too deep for words, a love his father had never known how to express. Sometimes, love is expressed in ways we don't immediately recognize. Harsh words and strict behavior can often stem from a deep sense of care and responsibility. Parents, especially fathers, may struggle to openly show affection, fearing it might make their children complacent. However, their intentions are rooted in the desire to see their children grow stronger and more capable. On the other hand, it's equally important for children to communicate their efforts and feelings, breaking the cycle of misunderstandings. The story also highlights the value of perseverance and quiet dedication. Despite being labeled useless, David never let the negativity stop him from fulfilling his responsibilities. His actions proved his worth far more than words ever could. This reminds us that self-worth doesn't come from others' opinions, but from our actions and character. Finally, it encourages us to look beyond appearances and judgments, fostering compassion and understanding in relationships. Love, when recognized and reciprocated, has the power to heal even the deepest emotional wounds.